I believe I've just seen an incredible milestone when it comes to VeChain. And I think this is actually a pretty cool progress report because did you know that Paul, who allegedly is the managing partner at VeChain Stats, not to be confused with Jake Paul, it's different, but again, Paul recently announced that VeChain just passed 15 million unique addresses, which is a pretty big milestone. But there are two ways to take a look at it, and I'll explain why in today's video, even though nothing I say is financial advice and I'm not telling anyone to do anything. Now, there's two ways to take a look at this statistic, either glass half full or glass half empty. But I first want to address the glass half full sort of mindset first, because this, if anything, showcases that, hey, you know what? Historically, there's been at least quite decent activity when it comes to VeChain. So that's a pretty impressive thing. Now, on the flip side, in the glass half empty sort of situation, the way I take a look at this is that this does not equal active users. Keep in mind, unique addresses does not necessarily equal active users. As a matter of fact, the daily activity when it comes to VeChain as of right now is only around 10 to 20,000 addresses per day recently. So it's not like, there's millions upon millions of active addresses per day. That's not the case as of right now, at least the last time I checked. But even besides that, this, if anything, again, showcases that, hey, you know what? There is at least some historical activity when it comes to VeChain. So I can't really fault them for that. Again, there's two ways to take a look at this statistic, but nonetheless, I do find it to be an incredible statistic because achieving that many, like again, 15 million unique addresses when it comes to VeChain. It's pretty impressive. Let's take this into consideration. VeChain, it's currently ranked 86 in the world. Something that's ranked around 45th as of right now in the world, which is called Polkadot. So it's a bigger project, right, than VeChain. Polkadot's daily active users as of right now is around 2,000. So we're seeing like not that much activity there, but at least I'm seeing some activity when it comes to VeChain. Now, don't get me wrong, I still like the use case when it comes to Polkadot, but I'm just seeing it how it is. It's pretty impressive seeing this when it comes to VeChain. Now, if I take a look at it, top chains, like for instance, in the case of Solana, something like BNB or whatever, we're seeing like a lot of activity, right? Some of these top chains are doing over 1 million in terms of the statistics in regard to daily active users. Some are over 5 million and whatnot. So if we take a look at VeChain in the grand scheme of things, just 10 to 20,000, it's very minuscule, but it's pretty impressive in my opinion. But it's not that bad, I think, considering how VeChain is in this sort of period where it's trying to change, right? Let me explain why. VeChain is historically known for a project that's really focused on supply chain management. But what happened lately? VeChain, they've been having this really big emphasis towards AI. Take a look at Agent Suite. They're really focused on that as of right now. We'll have to wait and see what happens to that. But at the same time, they're really being focused on AI through Agent Suite. I've already explained a whole bunch of times what that is in my previous videos. So yeah, I'm just going to skip that part a little bit to just kind of explain that, hey, you know what, basically, long story short, through Agent Suite, VeChain is really focused on AI. I think that's the basic gist of it. And the fact that VeChain is in this period where they're trying to change sort of their focus, not necessarily neglecting supply chain management, they're still focused on that, but the fact that they're in this period in which they're changing their sort of focus in regard to AI as well, it's not that bad seeing that much activity when it comes to VeChain nonetheless. And keep in mind, VeChain could do pretty well in the case of AI. It would be so impressive because VeChain already has the infrastructure. It already has the VeChain Tor blockchain, something that allegedly has had 0 network outages ever since 2018. So we have to consider that. A lot of people would arguably say that had VeChain never been focused on AI, the VeChain Tor blockchain would have been greatly underutilized just for supply chain management, just because they thought that the VeChain Tor blockchain was so impressive, but it didn't really have such a dynamic use case, primarily speaking, which I agree to a certain extent, because if we take a look at VeChain being focused on AI, I think it's a better use of the VeChain Tor blockchain, just because the VeChain Tor blockchain has been historically so reliable in terms of not seeing network outages for a very long time. And then also in the case of AI, a lot of people want reliability, right? A lot of these developers want something that is reliable to build AI projects. So I thought it was just a perfect match right there, where the VeChain Tor blockchain, known for its amazing reliability, now VeChain is being focused on AI. And then how a lot of developers do value reliability in regard to AI. So it just made sense, in my opinion. But the thing is, VeChain is trying right now. So that's a big thumbs up for me because the AI wave really hasn't set in when it comes to this space. It's set in when it comes to stocks and stuff like that, but it hasn't really entered in such a massive way when it comes to this space. So if it does, now VeChain is better prepared because it's being focused on things like Agent Suite as of right now, which is going to prepare it moving forward for that eventual wave if it maybe were to hypothetically come to the space in regard to AI. VeChain is more prepared through being focused on AI as of right now. So that's the thing. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all, what they're doing. Now, if we take a look at when it comes to VeChain in regards to the price, yeah, I mean, it's still not doing the best, but keep in mind, the market cap is around 400 million, right? Let's rewind the clock a little bit. Let's take a look at the market cap when it comes to VeChain back in, let's say, December of 2024. Did you know that the market cap actually in December of 2024, it was at over 5 billion, almost 5.5 billion, right? So we're over 10 times lower than December of 2024 in terms of market cap. Not just 10 times, right? We're over 12 times lower. So we sometimes got to let that sink in. This is how much VeChain has had a pullback, which may seem like a bad thing at first glance, but you know me. I don't mind the dip. That's the thing. If I walked inside a store, I wouldn't complain about a discount. Now, it's completely different here, but I'm just saying that's just the way to take a look at it. Now, if we take a look at it as well, VeChain, if we don't even want to rewind the clock that far, let's just take a look at September of 2025. So we're not talking about December of 2024. Let's just say September of 2025. Did you know that the market cap less than a year ago, so again in September 2025, was around 2.2 billion? I mean, we're over 5 times lower than that. September of last year was not considered such a good time for altcoins when it comes to this space, but we're still over 5 times lower than that. How does that make sense? Well, sometimes that's how it works when it comes to the space. VeChain has been improving. It's been having more exposure through the UFC partnership, and also by extension through its partnership with PowerSlap. And then also on top of that, we take a look at the improvements they've been making in regard to AI, and also we're taking a look at the impact so far of the Hayabusa upgrade and also Stargate. If we're taking a look at all that, I think VeChain as of right now is way better fundamentally when it comes to, or should I say when compared to September 2025. Yet it's around 5 times cheaper, and then it became a couple times better. But hey, you know what? That's how it usually works when it comes to this space, when the market isn't doing the best. But I'm not going to complain. I am not telling anyone to do anything, but personally, I'm just dollar cost averaging into my favorite projects once a month, basically. That's kind of it. I don't want to do any more than that, though. But yeah, that's all I'm doing. But so far, nonetheless, I'm still a fan when it comes to VeChain, and I like their recent focus in regard to AI. But nonetheless, seeing how Paul, right, the managing director of VeChain Stats, recently announcing how VeChain just passed 15 million unique addresses, it's pretty impressive. But I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward when it comes to VeChain. I want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very wonderful, amazing, and fantastic day. It's been Lee the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.